Hey everybody, it's A Dog's Life, and this is Angela Ardolino, and I am joined today by Dr. Ava Frick. And did I say that right, Frick?
You did.
Good. And I feel like she's my soul sister. Your bio, I just loved. We found you at the AHVMA from this
Yeah.
year. It was all virtual, so instead of getting to meet people, face to face, we got to
Mm.
meet them virtually. And then, of course, I told Hernando, invite her, invite her, invite her. So, yeah, I've got this wonderful influx of amazing guests just like you. So thank you so much for joining me.
No, it's my pleasure.
You are a whole food nutritionist for pets, correct? Is that a good title
Yes,
for you?
that would be a focus. I'm not board certified in nutrition, but that is my focus is
Is
that.
there such a thing? You
Oh,
can be
sure.
board certified? Oh,
Within the
good.
veterinary industry, you can be board certified as a nutritionist. Huh? Yeah.
I didn't know that. Good.
hmm
And is it a good nutrition course? Do they actually teach you nutrition?
Well, there's different phases of how nutrition can be approached. So you can approach it from the bag, the food company, but you
Yeah,
can
we don't do
also
that. We don't
approach
do that.
nutrition through what does this organ need that you can get from whole foods, from the real thing. Yeah, real meat and real vegetables and not processed, and yes, where the body
Exactly.
can thrive.
So my
So
listeners know why you were invited now that they hear
I
that,
think
because that's the only one that matters to us. And,
uh,
as you know, you're not really taught about diet and nutrition when you were in vet school. And it's
no,
something you have to go out and learn yourself.
I
And
was fortunate that I grew up on a farm. So we had a garden and we actually we had a slaughterhouse and a supermarket in this little town. And so it was cool because the local farmers brought their cattle or their hogs and then the people purchased from their local people. So it was self-supporting. So that was all good and had
they
that.
probably fed their dogs that too, whatever was
Oh
left
yeah,
over, and
they all
cost
had
the
good stuff.
dogs the bones, and no,
Yeah,
nobody.
a loose chicken now and then.
Right. So it's how it should be. And
Right.
we've gotten so far away from this convenient bag of food that
hmm
doesn't work.
No.
And it's funny because, as you know, I'm in the cannabis industry. I formulate CBD products and
hmm
products for pets, but we never give advice to anyone to say, hey, this will help, without saying, well, what are you feeding them? Because
Exactly.
you can't take care of one problem without getting rid of the thing that probably caused the issue in the first place. So
Everything is connected. It goes back to that old poem thing, the shin bone's connected to the knee bone to the hip bone. And if you look at the mineral wheel, everything is connected to something else. The body is constantly trying to survive. And optimal survival is the goal, but it can only do that to the degree of what it's given. And there isn't any, and I do all that hair mineral analysis, and you can see step by step what's happening, like one mineral affects another mineral, affects a vitamin, affects an amino acid, and all the body is constantly on this seesaw. And what we hope to get, instead of going kaplunk, kaplunk, is that they're just like this.
and I'm also guessing that you're going to suggest us getting those, what we're deficient in, from whole plants, whole foods, and not by just supplementing. And I may be speaking out of line, but everything that I know about cannabis applies to everything else I'm now seeing, where they're
That's right.
just taking, one part of a carrot or one part of
hmm
a plant or an isolate of one, terpene or flavonoid, and making something out of it. And then it becomes dangerous, or
Yes.
it doesn't do what it's intended to do because you've messed with nature. So you're a proponent of that, of whole foods.
Yes. And the body, too, it's a computer. And that computer has been programmed based on whole foods. So yeah, that's the source of where we want to end up. Now I can say there are times, because these bodies have become so deficient, that we do need to supplement certain minerals or amino acids, whatever it is, in order to get them in balance. But you're doing it from a scientific approach, following up with a test, you're monitoring them until they get to that point, and they do get there where they go, okay, I don't need that extra anymore. I can get it from this food that you're giving me.
So
And it's better to use vitamins and minerals at a prescription level than it is a drug, which is really only putting the fire out, and it's not going to fix it anyway.
I love it. And that's what most prescription meds do, is that they just suppress the immune system and they suppress whatever the results are so that they think it's fixed, but it's not.
It's not. No, it's just another day there in not so much paradise. You're going to be putting out another fire with something else. So, yeah.
So I remember you're not still practicing, are you now? Are you still practicing at your practice?
Well, I moved from Missouri to Cave Creek, Arizona, I used to live in Arizona in the 1980s, and this is where I'd come on a weekend when I want to have some fun. And I thought, why not live where I had fun?
That's where I live.
You've lived there?
No, I live where I would come
where you have fun.
Vacation.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. So, right now, I did pass my Arizona boards for the second time. I took them in the 1980s and then let it lapse, so I had to redo that. And so I'm not seeing any Arizona people, but I'm real busy with doing telehealth with my clients from in Missouri and Illinois still.
Oh, so, very cool.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I can't be busy. I mean, I can't not be busy.
I know.
I have my hands on animals. You know, the chiropractic part comes in. You got it.
Right. Reading your bio, you know, you have traveled, you've had such a wonderful story, and you've learned so much. And I love that. And that, you know, often on my podcast, I have on vets who, you know, didn't learn everything in school and went, wait a minute, there's more. And what about this? What about that? And maybe this will work. Which I think we find with most treatments, that if it's going to help us, it's probably going to help our pets also. I love chiropractic. It's, you know, a life changer. So I know it's a life changer for our dogs and for our cats, for everything. I understand opening up that signaling and that pathway between the brain, and one kink can throw it all off. So what are some of like your biggest successes that you've seen with a change in, like, what do they come in for? You know, they're coming in because the dog stopped walking, or they have a disease, and then you're able to adjust and say, here's how you keep them whole by changing their diet.
Well, the other part of what I have done is focus on the whole rehab picture. So it was more than just the chiropractic, it's doing other physiotherapy. And I've worked extensively with Electromedical Products International, which is the producer, had the technology for alpha stem microcurrent, which is not a TENS, it's very different. Pardon?
And that's for horses, or?
Well, you know, all the early research was done on animals, so it could be approved for people. So they've been on the market since 1981. Yeah, just like what you were saying, if it works for people, it works for the animals. Right. So I was going to human physical therapy conferences, try to figure out what did they have for pain that I could apply to animals, and this is in the late 90s. And
that's
so
what
then,
I did with cannabis.
See, there you go. You got to be on the edge.
Yeah, as soon as I found out animals had the endocannabinoid system, I was like, that's what I'm doing. And then I couldn't find anybody else doing it. So I was like, I guess I'm going to formulate my own things now.
See, you're a pioneer.
Yeah, kind of fun.
Yeah. So I would say seeing those dogs that couldn't walk at all, that the people were at the point of, you're going to have to euthanize them, or you're going to need to spend $2,500 or whatever for a surgery. And those are their options. And then they go looking, and then they would find me. And then we would do the microcurrent and get them on. Actually, there's different nutrients that can help heal the myelin of the nerve tracts and help the nerve cells to mend better, giving them exercises to do. So being able to see these dogs that we're told they're never going to walk again up running and playing, that's pretty awesome.
And that's after changing just diet, or doing an adjustment, doing all of everything together, the physical therapy?
For those dogs, it's pretty much the whole kit and caboodle.
Wow. And that's, you know, that's what I was just talking about with another vet today, is that, you know, 10 years ago, your dog stopped walking and they just put it down. And now it's what we get is all, you know, people calling us and saying, my dog stopped walking. I heard CBD could help. And we're like, yep, CBD, chiropractic, acupuncture, all of those things.
Yeah. And CBD is one of the items that's in my toolkit that we check them for and find out, okay, are you the candidate that this is really going to support and help? And, you know, sometimes they are, Sometimes they pick something else, but that doesn't mean that they may not want that at a later time. No doesn't always mean no forever. It just means not today.
Well, we appreciate you having that available in your toolkit. It's my
Mhm.
favorite tool in my toolkit. You were talking about the electrotherapy. Tell me a
Mhm.
little bit more about that and how it works.
Well, the particular company, like I said, I worked with is Alpha Stem. And there's a website, alphastemforanimals.com. You can go, I've done lots of webinars and we have different videos on there, but it's about the waveform. And so everything in life really is about energy potentials. It's about a waveform, it's about an amplitude, it's about a frequency. How many times does that wave repeat in a unit of time? And when you look at the quality of cannabis, there's going to be, if you have all those factors, it's going to have a higher frequency potential to be a better match than something else. So with this particular device has been FDA cleared for anxiety, insomnia, depression, and pain since 1981. Yeah, and it's when you read the research and study.
Like the little things that you put on your temple, or it has the little
ear clips.
Oh, they're clips.
Yeah, and that works through the limbic system, which is where all the fears and anxiety come in, and then the mind makes a decision about what are we going to do about this. It goes back out through that area and then out to the body.
Wow.
So you put the clips on, but you can also treat peripherally. And see, the part about trying to get well is and I started with laser in the late 90s. I invented the spinal pad. There wasn't anything like that on the market for the low-level laser.
Wow.
But the part about Alpha Stem is that when you're treating them peripherally and centrally, you're getting all 4 levels of pain: transmission, transduction, modulation, and perception, all of that. And that works as an erasure for that in the body. But also we can send it home. And so we train clients how to do it. They take the device home and they do it at home twice a day. And that's a big part of what makes the difference. When you got one that's had a terrible spinal injury and you're trying to bring them around, then to go to a clinic twice a week isn't enough. Especially the older you get, the slower everything is and the more oomph it takes to get you back up. Right. So for those older dogs that happens to, it's very key that the people we rent them, and they're not that expensive to rent. They take it home and they do it twice a day, and then you see them back in a week or two, whatever, do the rechecks and then monitor the progress, give them some exercises, and tally ho.
It's amazing because I have never had a dog, before I got into CBD hemp. Mm-hmm. I had never had a dog that had gone paralyzed or stopped using its back end. Mm-hmm. And now I see it all the time because of what I do. So I didn't even know that there was, of course I immediately thought of acupuncture and chiropractic because it makes sense to me, but I didn't have any idea of all these other things that could help and that people are having this success. It makes me sad, and it makes me understand why we have to have shows and podcasts like this so that pet parents know that there are alternatives. Because finding an integrative or holistic vet in your area that, it's difficult. You can't find them. And I live in a pretty big city. So these people that, I just heard that Arkansas has 3 holistic vets in the whole state. So it's very difficult to find out that these even exist and that it's out there. And then it also makes me go, well, gosh, are these wonderful treatments I could do on myself?
Yeah, well.
I'm writing them all down, getting it all. I love it.
Exactly.
I'm getting into ozone right now.
I
have a Doberman with cancer, with osteosarcoma. So I'm trying everything, using the cannabis mostly to treat her, and she's doing great so far. Hasn't spread, and we haven't had to amputate yet. She's still using the leg, not when she runs or walks, but balance or scratches or whatever. So it's amazing how all of this is out there, and I'm lucky to know all of these people and have the resources to reach out to them and then share what I learned, because so many people don't know about it.
Well, that's what you said when you said it was sad. And what I think you're saying there too is that if you don't know that there's a question to ask, you never get the answer. And this is where podcasts like yours are helping out, because there's lots of people who don't know. They're like, some will go look and they're going like, there's got to be something more. Well, they do more than this for people. There's got to be. And so some go looking. And other people, they get the answer from the traditional veterinarian. They just go, well, I guess that's it. And that's the sad part. And part, I'm sure, about what drives you to do what you're doing too. And not every holistic practitioner has the whole holistic either.
Right.
So there's a lot.
We have to take a break, and we're going to talk about that, because it's kind of funny, because I do live next door to a very famous holistic vet that doesn't meet my definition of a holistic vet. So it's funny that even though I'll refer them to the AHVMA, I'm like, look, it still may not be a perfect fit, which is why I think telemedicine is so important. Because I believe, of course, I've got to have a vet. I've got to have it. I actually love my emergency vet that's near me.
Oh, this is good.
I will pay more to go to the emergency vet to get what I need, because I'm friends with a whole bunch of other vets, and they'll be like, look, go get the blood work, send it back to me, and then we'll, that type of thing. But we're talking about holistic medicine, which, should be spelled with a W, to kind of really, it's almost like we have to have a podcast on how to find a good holistic vet. Most of the time, a holistic vet is going to be wonderful. But once in a while, just like, you can find a bad conventional vet or a bad plumber, there's going to be people who aren't doing it with the right intention. And when you're looking for a good holistic vet, you're looking for a vet who's going to offer multiple therapies or modalities, and not that vet has to know how to do all of them. Just met a vet tech who knows Reiki, does acupuncture, does everything under, the supervision of a vet, kind of like me, where I'm not a vet, but I am a vet cannabis expert. I know just about everything you could possibly know about it, but I turn to our vet that, we have on board to go, right? You think? Is it safe? Will it mix with that? Can they take them off that? Because I don't know all of those things. So it is a wonderful combination. What are some tips? Because I know, like you want to educate us and empower the pet parent to make the right choice and work with your vet. I always tell them, if you have a vet that's not willing to work with another vet, or is going to ignore when you come in and go, hey, have you heard about CBD? And they go, nope, gonna kill your dog. That's just arrogance. There's too much proof out there to tell you otherwise. Vets should either refer or say, here's a site. I've read good things. I've heard, I just don't know anything about it because I've never studied it. Instead of, it's going to kill your dog, because it's not going to kill your dog. What are some tips on finding a true holistic vet, and what do you do if you don't have one or can't find one?
So I would think looking at the organization website. So as you mentioned, the AHVMA, but within the AHVMA, those veterinarians are interested in different areas of what makes the holistic picture.
Got it.
So there may be a veterinarian that does acupuncture and Chinese medicine and does herbs, but doesn't do the chiropractic part. There may be one who's an acupuncturist and a chiropractor, but isn't too much into nutrition. There may be one that is certified now in rehab, but doesn't do chiropractic. But so it's finding which is the one that fits most of the items or tools that you as a person use for yourself, that you gravitate to. Then you're probably going to find that those are the things that are good for your animal too.
And oftentimes, and I was to say, oftentimes they'd be able to refer you to, if they're certified in rehab, to a chiropractor or Chinese, or whatever that is, because they're all specializing in whatever they're doing.
That's right. Yeah. So, and there are times when you can find a clinic that maybe has several doctors, and each one of them has another area that creates all of that within the clinic. So there's that part of it too. Also, word of mouth of another friend that has another animal, like you have a dog, they have a dog, they've been to this one, they're really happy, and I always tell people, don't just talk on the phone and then make that appointment, like go, well, at least before COVID, take a tour, walk in. How does the place smell? Because dogs can smell 10,000 times what we do. And a lot of times those aromas are very repulsive. How does it smell? How do they treat you when you go in there? How do you feel about the space and the environment? Is it open enough? Is it all cloistered? So getting a feel for how you feel when you were there. And then how would the dog feel?
Such a wonderful point. I went to get my hair done at an Aveda salon.
Oh, yeah.
And, Aveda salon is, 98% all natural or whatever. And I have rheumatoid arthritis, and I have become extremely sensitive to chemicals. And so I literally will go at the end of the day, make sure nobody's getting some weird, because they will do other treatments other than Aveda, which I don't understand. So, end of the day, everything. And I'm at the end of the day and they're cleaning with Fabuloso. And I'm like, I have to leave this space because I can't breathe and it's crazy. And why in the hell is an Aveda salon using Fabuloso when you're supposed to be all natural? So
yeah, there's all kinds of essential oils that you can pull in and make great, healthful.
Yeah, I have a groom shop, daycare, boarding, retail shop called Beautify the Beast.
Oh, neat.
I use vinegar and hydrogen peroxide and water on everything. And now alcohol when we need to because of COVID. But, and it's funny because some people we don't do the vinegar in the middle of the day or whatever, because people would freak out, but there's no bad smells.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and you don't want to go about covering up smells. No. You want there to be no smells because you've kept it clean.
Right.
Yeah.
And a dog knows when it's been covered up, and they're going to pee or poop on that spot that you just covered up. You've got to get rid of it.
That's right. That sensitive nose.
Yep.
So when we were talking about tips on how to find a practitioner too, and you'd mentioned earlier about telehealth and telemedicine. So I've actually been doing that for 10 years already. And we would have what we call a non-body. So I've got animals all over the world where people would send me a cheek swab. Nowadays, used to in the old days, if you were going to sign up to be a bone marrow donor, you would have to actually have the needle put into your bone and your marrow pulled out and analyzed. Now all you have to do is stand in line and they just take a swab inside your cheek and they can determine whether or not you match. So I get the DNA from that, and then fur sample, they'll come out some fur. Or clip it, depending on which tests we're doing, and a picture and history and all that, and any supplements or things they're using that they want to check. And I can do analysis that way and measure frequencies from the tissue against frequencies of the organs, against frequencies of virus and bacteria and heavy metals and chemicals and parasites. Are there any of those bad guys in there that are messing up your groove, Yeah, so there's that way to access help from a holistic perspective too. If you live in an area, like you were saying before, where you don't have anybody close.
Right, or you even have a good holistic vet, but they don't have those tests or the access to that or know anything about it. And the best part of knowing that you have a great vet is that they're open-minded and they listen to you and they're willing to work with another vet because they're not threatened. It's not a competition.
Right,
and
it's not a competition.
They need to, Pete, we as pet parents, don't think about the fact that, if we're human, we go to our doctor and they go, oh, you need to go see a neurologist. And then you go see the neurologist. The vet is all of it, does everything. They're the dentist, they're the neurologist, they're the everything. And they don't know everything and they can't know everything. And a lot of them don't want to know everything. They want to stay in their little box. So it takes a lot of work on a pet parent to find a good holistic vet.
And there are many specialists nowadays. I think as more tests, more knowledge, more everything in schools, they're taught now, like in my day, it's like, come on, just buckle up, cowgirl up and let's go do this. Let's research it and then do this test or this procedure, whatever. And nowadays it's pretty much like, okay, we don't do that. Go to the emergency, go to the specialist. There are specialists in everything from ophthalmology and dermatology and neurology, and they're all there. Mm-hmm.
We are talking about working with your vet, and I wanted to talk about what is the best way for us to get in touch with you and work with you or like, I'm trying to figure out, what do you see the most? I see a lot of people with dogs that their guts are a disaster. So I feel like it would be really awesome for them to be able to have a consult with you to come up with a nutritional plan or diet plan. Is that something that's like out of the realm, or does that sound cool?
It's very much in the realm.
Yeah.
So you have that gut immune skin connection. So there's lots of dogs that end up with dermatitis of one source or another, and they're on antibiotics and steroids and Apoquil and all of those things that can lead to other problems. While it helps initially, it's still not the bottom line. So yeah, I see lots of those types of cases. Working on one now from California. He's 3 years old, and she's just, going in that loop and can't get out of it. So he's had his hair mineral analysis test done. I just got it yesterday, and I started doing his scanning today, running the frequencies and figuring out, okay, what are the things that we're going to do? We already had assessed things that food allergens, and you try to take out.
Tell me what you're looking at. And is it a Frenchie by any chance?
No, he's a mix. Some Doberman in him, but not purebred. Yeah, a cute little guy.
That's why our logo is a Frenchie.
Yeah.
Because that's what I saw the most, what has the most problems coming into my shop, and they're 2 and 3 years old. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on?
Where are they going to be down the road?
So you get the results back, and what are you looking for? Like, I would love to know. So you've taken a tissue sample, a hair sample, and what else? Is that it?
Well, photo, history, all of those kinds of things.
And then you run it through.
Scan organs, scan glands. So we check the whole endocrine system, and then the digestive tract, liver. Yeah.
Cool.
Yep.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. Yeah. So we want to know which organs are optimally functioning, which aren't functioning optimally, which doesn't mean they're broke down. It just means that they're struggling. They're either overworking or underworking in order to respond to what's going on. It's all about, again, trying to hit that optimal survival. And so over time, what it'll be is more and more the organs are working optimally, and there's fewer of them that are struggling. So I scan all the organs, we find out what the priority is. Like his priority is the intestinal tract, just what you were saying. So we're going to look at what can we do to improve the gut. And then my other focus, really, I got into looking at Ayurvedic principles and the doshas, the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha, and find out where the dog, we're talking about dogs, but cats or horse or whatever, lands in that. And then we can improve their diet, because there are certain foods that's going to benefit each type. And there's certain herbs that benefit each type. And it's all about the fewest amount of things that we're going to get the greatest amount of good. Amen. And what's customized for this individual animal. Not, okay, I was at a conference and this is what they said's working, and so now we're going to use this and let's try it and see how it works. Well, it's that animal's life and that person's money. You might as well just put a dartboard out there and start playing a game if we're guessing. So I take the guesswork out of it to a degree.
That's amazing. And one of the best lines that I remember was at the end of your bio, which I've now lost, about you're not looking at it as a disability, that disability is turned into responsibility.
Yep.
And that's exactly how I look at everything. Is, the first time that someone called and said, is it possible that the CBD is helping my dog's Cushing's? And I knew nothing about Cushing's. And so went down the Cushing's black hole and went, yes, it is. And this is why, just finding out what caused it, just taking a moment. Well, what's different from yesterday or last year? What has happened? When I lost my first soul dog, Lucy, at age 7, I did everything my conventional vet told me to do. And she was dead at 7, got an autopsy, $10,000. I stopped counting. And it's just never got an answer. So I needed to know the answer. And it starts with the food. We got to stop feeding them this kibble, that's on the shelf. People are probably sick of me hearing me say this, but it's like us pouring a bowl of Cheerios And depending on how shitty the kibble is, it's either shitty Cheerios or good Cheerios, and eating it every day with no milk. Who wants
But
that?
the sad part about Cheerios, it's made out of oats, and oats is one of the highest glyphosate
I know.
grains out there. Is that not sad? And you
But
see all them little babies eating Cheerios as a snack, and I'm just going, oh my gosh.
I used to have a parenting magazine. So all I did
Oh,
was report on all of this stuff, and and I would go on TV and do segments, and I'll never forget when BPA first came out, however long ago, and us being alarmed and how do we get foods that don't have this in. And so I didn't have babies. So I went to the grocery store and I'm like, okay, I'm going to find props for my TV segment.
oh, yeah.
It's going to be hard, but let me start flipping the bottles over and looking. First one, second one, every single one of them. And I started calling the companies going, how can you put baby formula in a container that's leaching poisons into the, it's unbelievable. So those are our human babies. They don't care about our dog babies. They don't care about our cat babies or horse babies. We do. So we have to be your pet's best advocate. Where can people get in touch with you? Because now I'm over time. And I want
All right. Hey, it's easy. AvaFrick.com. My website. And just go to my name, AvaFrick.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us
Thanks
today.
for the invite.
I really enjoyed it. And when I'm in your neck of the woods, I'm going to come visit you.
Oh, please do. Hang out for a couple days.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Take care.
You too.